Hello and welcome to Salt City Gamescast. My name is Nick Nana. This is Gamescast number 139. Sitting across from me, Jared All.
Hey, I'm hungover.
What happened?
I played video games.
Okay.
Like I do. And I played them for too long, accompanied with lots of whiskey drinking last night. So my stomach's a little queasy, so nothing better than drink some more whiskey.
Yeah, absolutely.
And beer.
What were you playing?
We'll get into it, Nick.
Okay.
We'll get into it.
Good. I'm jumping ahead. I just gotta, before we dive into the whiskey, we gotta get right out ahead of it. Sometimes when you really want to watch some Olympic soccer and you don't know how to get the time, you let your daughter paint your fingernails.
Yeah.
And here I am.
Yeah.
So I don't want to, this is what happened today, but I wanted to watch some of the soccer game until we were doing quite well. So I watched like the first half of it.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool. That was a right out of the gate. They got a penalty kick and scored a point. But
who were they playing?
New Zealand.
Okay.
And I briefly Googled it because I was watching it and I was just like, and I saw a little bit of the Argentina game and I'm just like, I think something's going on here. Who are these people? Are these not the people you sent to the World Cup?
Generally, no.
Okay. That's what I figured. And I saw something about like, only a lot of them have to be 23 or under, and you can bring a couple oldies or something. And I was just like, okay, interesting.
Right. So yeah, the Olympic soccer setup is kind of strange because it definitely takes a backseat to the World Cup, as it should, where World Cup is going to be the pinnacle of the sport and your best of the best for a given country, regardless of age, right? I mean, obviously they have to be over 18. But with the Olympics, it's usually, first of all, it's a different coach. And then secondly, it's usually viewed as like, this is a stepping stone for these players in the pipeline that are potentially going to, play for the men's national team.
Go dip your toe
a World Cup
on the world stage or something.
Yeah, exactly. So this is just a tool that they use to kind of get them acclimated to these big tournaments. Obviously, the Olympics is a big tournament, so that's kind of how it shakes out. But generally, it's not going to be the cream of the crop for a given nation. Now, there are some exceptions. You'll see a world-class player here and there that will be kind of spit into an Olympic roster, but generally it's younger people.
Yeah. Hey, you've got time. Go over there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I did not watch it, but New Zealand is a powerhouse, so that's impressive. The U.S. got shellacked by France in the opening game pretty badly. Okay. So I think it was 3-0 and it wasn't particularly close. And there was a lot of people kind of criticizing our system, which it deserves to be criticized because it's kind of ass backwards when you compare it to other parts of the world and how successful they have been. I think there's like a lot of application to the argument is we have like the best athletes in the world in the United States, which like you could probably make that argument. But they generally play other sports other than soccer.
Sure.
But that I think is a little overblown because athleticism only gets you so far in a game like soccer or any game for that matter, really. But I think like when you compare it to like American football, where it's just like your athleticism and your strength is going to directly translate, depending on the position, into success, where soccer is really not that way, right? Like, yes, you can be athletic, super athletic. That's a good thing. But if you don't have the technical ability to play the game the right way, you're still going to struggle. So it's like, yeah, you can have these fucking juiced up maniac like Tyreek Hills out there that can run as fast as a goddamn cheetah. But if he can't fucking dribble the ball or cross the ball into the mixer effectively, like what do you get? So like this argument of like, oh, if everybody was just like funneled into soccer with the superior athleticism that we have here in the United States, then we would be better. I just don't think that that's accurate.
And there's like, takes a lot of time, right? Like what you're saying is that would you don't just flip a switch and be like, the United States known for soccer now. That's just the thing. It's like,
it's definitely, I mean, the sport's growing every year.
Sure.
The MLS is getting bigger and bigger. They're expanding. The product is getting better. And I don't think it would be crazy to say that, 30 years time, the league is going to be in a much better spot than it is right now.
I was just going to say, like, you could, it's probably not crazy to be like, in the next 4 World Cups or so, maybe the U.S. could have a good little run instead of we usually don't do well at all.
Right.
Maybe they'd be like, hey, they got out of the group and they won 1 game.
Yeah. No, that'd be huge. Yeah. Really what needs to change is the infrastructure around the youth, side of the sport, right? Like, if you compare it to like the most famous example is La Masia, which is in Barcelona. It is widely regarded as the best academy in the sport. And they will bring in kids very, very young. You know what I mean? Like Messi is a good example. He got plucked from Argentina when he was like 8 or 9 and signed to a contract with Barcelona. And then you are just like eat, sleep, drink, soccer your entire life. And they moved his family as well to be with him. So they're paying his family essentially because they see this talent. And then they just develop that talent over a very long period of time at that academy. And it produced, specifically with Spain, I mean, it produced a generation of World Cup winning players. And Spain is still doing good. They just won the Euros, right? And they just continue to pump it out. Lamine Yamal is the new next Messi prospect, that 16 years old, and he's the youngest ever player to score at a Euro tournament. And they ended up winning it. So, and he's fantastic. Same process. There's a hilarious photo of him with Messi as a baby. So like Messi is like standing over him and he's in like a tub and he's just like an infant child.
I've seen it.
It's pretty fucking incredible.
I didn't know the context. I saw that picture in the last week, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know why it was posted.
That's why, because Lamine Yamal is like the heir apparent in a lot of people's eyes of like the next up and coming star in world football. So wow. Should we do a podcast about soccer? I'd be into that.
Sure. I mean, it would be great to be like one guy knows nothing and then one guy knows lots of things. So I'm like the person that shows up and asks stupid questions. And it's like, I know how offsides works. I actually played a lot of soccer, so I understand a lot of
great sport.
Soccer, the sport.
Fucking love it, man.
Hey, my daughter starts in the fall.
Excellent.
So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's always a shit show.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Whenever they trot on the kids at halftime at Real Salt Lake games, that is fucking hilarious. Like you don't need to book like, I don't know, a fucking circus performer or something like that to entertain everyone at halftime. Just put a bunch of fucking kids on the pitch in these little mini goals and let them fucking go after it.
It's actually pretty funny how this happened. We were on vacation and we had like a grass area and we brought a soccer ball and we were just sitting in. My daughter was just running with it, like dribbling, and she's 4. And it was just like, let's put her in soccer like now. Let's just double check because she looks like she's kind of okay. So let's just see how that goes.
Yeah,
and
that's
up for anything. So.
The unfortunate thing is like, and I mean, I'm sure this is with every sport, but like, obviously at that age, you're just there to participate and have a good time. And that's largely the goal. But like in other parts of the world, it's like, you see that 4-year-old over there, he's got some fucking moves, man. Let's sign him. And that's really the way it is. So like, until we, adjust and change our philosophy towards the sport, like other countries have, I think we're going to lag behind.
Yep. Okay, so I went to Idaho recently and they do kind of their rare allocated booze a little different than here in Utah. They'll have some drawings and then they tell us every third Saturday they'll like tell us what's available, and that's a big line and a big rat race. And what Idaho's done, and I kind of like what they've done, is every store in their state-run liquor stores just has like a rack, and they call it the treasure hunt. And there's no inventory, there's no tracking, there's just no way to know what they're going to have, which is presumably trying to cut down on scalpers that just know where they can go get it. And instead, if you want to hunt, you just need a liquor store pretty often. Mm-hmm. So while I was in Idaho, I stopped by 6. I did my thing for work and then just looked at how many there were coming home, and I just started and swung by, and I just found a couple bottles, and I'm pretty happy about it. But the one we're just trying right now is Booker's 2024-01 Springfield. So essentially, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, they do like 4 of these a year.
Correct.
One for each season or whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
Essentially, this is made by the Jim Beam guys.
Beam Suntory.
And this thing is extremely strong. You most likely need some water. It's 62%. So it's kind of, you've got to doctor it to kind of understand what you're up against a little here, because it's kind of I don't know. You don't get a good flavor profile, at least for me, when it's that strong, because the alcohol content just burns everything.
100%. Yeah. Like the glass, I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but like the glass is fogging up because there's just like fire water in here. These are sweet Glencairns, by the way.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I got some new ones.
Yeah, definitely need to put water in it. This is not wildly different than other Booker's releases that I've had in the past.
Yeah,
I like Booker's. It's a very interesting flavor profile, and as soon as you try it, you will immediately know that it's Booker's product.
I had read that like the people that like Booker's end up just liking it. Yeah, they have different releases, and people will argue about what's the best, but it's like, it's unique enough that it's like, oh yeah, there is some differences from release to release for sure, and it really boils down to like how long it's aged. They'll mix in different age statement whiskeys into this product, and that kind of makes the difference. But yeah, Booker's is it's got a cult following, definitely, and I think from a branding perspective, they do a really good job. I mean, I think the bottle's beautiful with the little ribbon on it, very classy looking in my opinion. So they've nailed that. And then with the 4 releases a year, people that are really into it will go after it pretty aggressively and track down to the one that they're looking for. So. And the nice part about Idaho is that I don't know what their markup is, but it's the bottle I think was $80 or something, which when I looked online seemed like I was pretty much paying like MSRP.
Yep.
So that's always good.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you can chase this stuff, because I don't know, I'm pretty happy with it. I like to have it on the shelf. I think it's a good one to bring out like lower proof, and then use this thing to be like, all right, well, look what it can do and where it can go. And this is
yeah, for sure. The other one that the Beam Suntory group does is Little Book as well. It's packaged very similarly. It's going to be in the same bottle as well. And I don't really know the difference between those two brands, but that's another one that people go after pretty aggressively. And they do the same thing. It's 4 releases every year. And
wonder if the proof is high.
I believe it is.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah, as this whiskey tries to kill me. This is not for the faint of heart, dude. You really have to be okay with like an incredibly high proof. And I usually like high proof products. And like if you compare them to like other products, like the best example that I can think of off the top of my head is Stag Junior. That shit's usually, I mean, it varies, but it's usually going to be in the 60% range. Stag Junior does not drink like it's 60%, in my opinion. It's much easier drinking. This is not that. Yeah. This is punch you in the fucking mouth and steal your money.
Be careful on how big your sip is on this stuff, because it's serious. I think it's the strongest bottle in my. I can't imagine I have anything above 62, but that's definitely the highest I've seen. Was Stag?
I think it's like the bottle I have is like 64.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it just varies. Putting a little bit of water into this actually helps it. And you can definitely get some of that flavor that's, kind of hid behind this really intense fucking proof. So
I would think that most people are adding water to it. I'm sure there's people that are just pouring themselves a nice glass of it. But
the first time I found a bottle of this a couple of years back, the first bottle I had, and I was like excited because I hadn't tried it, and I just poured like a pretty hefty glass of it. And I got like 3 sips in and I was like, I can't do this. And I generally drink most whiskey neat. I don't usually add ice or water if I can help it. But this is one that you absolutely need to drink on ice or put some water into it to enjoy it.
I don't like to do ice. I used to do ice. I don't like to do ice.
I don't like ice either. It dilutes it.
And it changes.
Right.
Like I don't want an evolving cocktail depending on how fast I drink it.
Yeah.
And water, at least I can say I added too much or I didn't add enough, and you can keep dialing it in, and then it's like, okay, that's exactly how I want it. Like I actually added a decent amount here, and this is I like what this tastes like right now.
I recently listened to a book about Pappy Van Winkle, the family, and how they kind of started their their business and how it's got to where it's at now. It's a really interesting book. I would recommend it. But they talk about how Julian Van Winkle, who is the patriarch of the family now.
Pappy.
No, he's not Pappy. His grandfather was Pappy, but Julian runs the business now. So he drinks his whiskey on ice. And we're talking about extraordinarily good booze like Weller products and Pappy Van Winkle and stuff like that.
With some soda?
No, he drinks it on ice and he puts a lemon in it, which is the weirdest thing I've ever fucking heard. And the author who wrote this book spent a lot of time with them, like over a number, like almost a decade of time, just like spending time with his family and hanging out with them, which seems pretty fucking awesome, honestly.
Sure.
And he's basically like caught in a lot of flack for the way that he enjoys his fucking bourbon, but he's like, you don't have to fucking do it. Like, this is the way I like to do it. Fuck off. And it puts in perspective when like he is a member of one of the most prestigious families in like whiskey in the world. Yeah. And this motherfucker like has access to fucking everything under the sun. And he's over there like, let's put some lemon in this bitch.
It's weird. And to me, it seems like that should be a one-off where it's like, oh, I like this type, this exact bottle. I like lemon in that one. But then just be like, actually, all start with the lemon.
I should clarify. It's not the full lemon. It's like the essence of the lemon, like the peel. Yeah, so he'll put it in there. So
he's not juicing the lemon.
No. Okay. That's a little bit more acceptable, but still kind of.
Sure.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. People, you like what you like?
Yeah, you like what you like.
All right. Well,
let's get into it. We got a busy. We played a lot of video games, Nick.
We have, and I'm enjoying this time. It's a little slow in that there aren't these huge games, but I am really thoroughly enjoying just finding things out there that I've been having a lot of fun for starters, and then just being able to play some other things in the background as well. And the game you've played, Kunitsu-Gami, Path of the Goddess, I had it downloaded as well, and I played like an hour of it, but I bounced off of it. So I'm curious to see if I made a mistake, what you think about that game. This is on Game Pass as well. So
yeah. So this is Capcom joint, which is, first of all, out the gate, lovely to see Capcom putting out games like this, right? This is not a AAA title. This is like maybe single a very budget title. I mean, sure. It's not the prettiest looking game in the world. It looks fine.
It's still RE engine, so it's kind of interesting to see the range that engine has too, because almost everything we've seen out of that engine's like gorgeous.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to see something like this. It's like, oh, all right.
Yeah, it looks very similar to Monster Hunter Rise is what I thought about as I was playing it.
Yeah, that feels right from what I played.
Right. So from that perspective, it's not a visual spectacle or anything like that. But it is a very interesting idea that kind of mismatches like two different genres together, one of which being tower defense, which not my favorite genre of video games, never really been a big fan of tower defense games. And then the other one that it kind of pulls from is like a hack and slash action game, like Devil May Cry or something like that. And so, yeah, the premise of the game is you're this character called So that is tasked with protecting this princess or maiden as she kind of dances down this path to these gates, to the exit, essentially. And the way that you kind of defend her from these yokai, these demons that come out of these gates that are spread out across the map, is you generate units. There are 11 different units in the game, and you can upgrade all of them. They all have their own skill trees and things like that, which makes it nice. You can kind of tailor it the way that you want the characters to function. And yeah, you place them strategically like a tower defense game. And then also you as the character So are kind of like patrolling the battlefield while these waves of enemies kind of come down these paths at the goddess. The fail condition in the game is the goddess dies. So if she gets overwhelmed by demons and takes damage, the game ends.
Not you dying.
No. So can die. And when the character dies, it turns into like this little fucking ghost and floats around, and you can't do damage at that point in time. but you can still command your troops to go in specific areas to kind of protect the maiden a little bit more effectively while you're not on the battlefield. So that's nice. It's kind of a cool setup that way. I will say that specifically towards the end of the game, like if you die,
it's probably over.
It's probably over. So you got to stay up as long as you possibly can. But yeah, you're in there kind of in these battles, the combat system for So is pretty minimal in terms of like its complexity. It's not super complex combat system, but it works fine enough. So also has a skill tree that you can kind of invest currency into to make the character better in whatever ways that you want. So that's basically the crux. But again, I give them a lot of credit for coming up with like a unique idea, and we're just not seeing a lot of games like this in the industry right now.
It's kind of it almost feels dated a little bit.
100%.
The type of thing that's just like, how did this get made? And also like I would like more things like this to get made. I like games like this. That's just like, here it is. This is the thing. Go and beat it. But as I was playing through, I was just kind of like blown away at just how it functioned.
Yeah. So I've seen some people saying this is my favorite PlayStation 2 remake of a game that never existed. And I think that that's pretty accurate. There is like some definitely dated elements to it, and it doesn't function like a modern game does. That doesn't necessarily bother me personally. And I can kind of peel back and tear away like my expectation of what a game in 2024 is, because I have a lot of experience with video games and was younger at one point and played PlayStation 2 games and enjoyed them quite a bit. So that doesn't really bother me that much. I will say that the other element of the game is kind of like territory management as well. So as you kind of liberate these areas, there's this like the whole premise of the game is you're going down, you start at the top of this mountain and you're going down to the bottom, the base of the mountain, to then climb back up the mountain, which is fucking weird. But that's what happens.
Who's in charge of this?
Yeah, I don't know. But as you liberate these areas, you then get the ability to kind of cleanse an area of corruption, and then all these villagers come back. But because the corruption was there, it's destroyed all the infrastructure in the town, and then you basically have the villagers rebuild the town, and you get rewards for doing it. I love this kind of mechanic in video games. Like, fucking give it to me. I want it all. I love it. There's this element of box checking that comes with this kind of gameplay loop that I really enjoy. And so I really enjoyed that aspect of this game too. It gets a little repetitive towards the end because there's probably like 14 or 15 settlements that you have to rebuild. And the way that it kind of works is you have like a certain time limit. So it'll tell you when you go up to a structure, it'll be like, this building takes 2 missions worth of time to finish. So you got to kind of go back and forth to check on the progress, which is kind of tedious. And then there's also like some buildings require wood and other buildings don't. And I just think that that's like a stupid fucking inclusion, because you also have to tell your villagers to go find the wood. So you find the wood, and then you tell the villager, hey, come and pick up this fucking wood. And they come and pick up the wood, and then it's like, go and build this house again. And it's just like, but these other motherfuckers are over here building another house, but they don't need any fucking wood. So why is the wood mechanic here? It's not a good wood mechanic. So
the other guys build a brick house. I don't know what you want.
They're all wood. There's no bricks. It's all fucking like primitive Japanese architecture. And so it's like, we don't have one fucking group working with steel over there, Nick. It's all wood. So it's kind of stupid from that perspective, but overall I enjoyed that mechanic quite a bit. And my overall thoughts on the game, I think this game's pretty good. Like, it's not going to blow your fucking socks off, and it's definitely not going to be in like contention for game of the year or anything like that. But there's enough diversity in the missions that really pushed it through, because when I first started playing it, I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I went on howlongtobeat.com, which is a great website with a terrible name.
I've been using it for 15 long ass time, because I'm always obsessed with that.
Yeah.
What am I sitting down to?
Right. So I went and looked, and it was like 15 hours to beat this game. And I was like, okay, 15 hours of this. when I was playing it at first, I was like, dude, I don't know if 15 hours is that seems a little too long for a game like this. But I will say that it gets really it's diverse, right? So there are a lot of different wind conditions that are kind of set up throughout the campaign, and then also like different scenarios that you kind of have to tackle. Like for instance, there might be one where it's like, what if we didn't allow you to have any units and it's just you defending the maiden? What if was not available for the entire thing and you have to rely strictly on the units, right?
Yeah.
So there are things like that. And then there's boss fights as well. And some of the boss fights are actually really good. Some of them are bad, but
frustrating bad or just like nothing there?
The last boss is pretty frustrating. It's a multi-phase boss that took me a couple of tries to get, and the mechanics of the fight are somewhat infuriating because like it allows you to position your entire army, and you've got like I think 12 or 13 villagers that you can kind of pick and choose what units you want them to be, and then like right out the gate, like the boss immediately just kills all of them. And it's like,
well, why do we even have to do that?
And it's kind of RNG related too. So like there were a couple of runs where my entire army survived, but if they're in like this one spot, and it's like, you get the ability to command all of them at once at a certain point in time. That's locked in a skill tree. And I think that should just be at the base. Like at the beginning of the game, you can only tell a unit to move one at a time. And it's like, this sucks. And then you get it in a tree where it's like, now you can tell them all to go over and hide in the corner. And it's like, great. That's great.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's just RNG based, like with that last boss where sometimes they'll survive and then other times they just get all fucking wiped out in one hit. So, but yeah, some of the bosses are cool. There's a couple that are really kind of fun, I think, and they're cool ideas. So that mixes it up enough where you're like, okay, I feel better about this. My time invested into this. And overall, I enjoyed my time with this game. I'm glad that I finished it, saw it through. Most people are saying that the game really opens up in New Game Plus and you get a lot more options available to you and it's a lot more fun. But I'm like, nah. I'm not gonna do that. But for people that are into it, absolutely. I will say that like there is a pretty significant amount of replayability here, just because with any tower defense game, it's like how good can I structure my units around this battlefield?
Oh, for sure.
To allow me to just take everything out without them getting close to the maiden.
Games like that benefit by having a really high difficulty, like even in New Game Plus, if you can ratchet it up, because then you can master it, right?
That's what I've heard.
Where those things really drive home. But what I want to know, is kind of a loaded question for why I bounced, but how's the music? How's the story?
So the music is traditional Japanese fare, like old school, Japanese instruments. There are some good tracks in this, and then there's some tracks that are not great. One track in particular that I think is really effective is this is something that we didn't highlight, but the way that the game is structured is it's a day and night cycle when you're in the levels themselves. And during the day, you're kind of going around collecting currency, saving snakes and deer and boars. It's important. You get health items for them.
I start every day saving snakes.
Yeah, you got to save the fucking snakes, man. They're important to the ecosystem. They get corrupted with like demon goo, and they look ridiculous. And then the way that you purify them is just whack the shit out of them with your sword, which seems counterproductive, but that's the way you do it. Which can be kind of annoying because the deer run really fast and like doesn't move very quickly by design. There are some ways to speed the character up through the skill tree again, but or items, but like the base movement speed's pretty slow, so it can be kind of annoying. But yeah, so you're going around, you're purifying villagers, which then allow you to assign roles to them. And that's usually like a 2 to 3 minute sequence of like preparing your defenses.
Sure.
And then the night comes. And when the night comes, the demons come. And there is a track that plays, and it builds very, very effectively, where it's like kind of calm and not really much music going on. And then when you can kind of look at the time of day you're in the bottom left-hand corner, once you get closer to dark, the music starts ramping up, and there's some pretty like ominous horns that play, and it gets you like, oh shit, here we go. Like
Okay.
we're getting into it. So I like that quite a bit. And then the village music as well. There's a couple of tracks in the village that I really liked, but yeah, it's not going to knock your socks off. And then the story is like very, it's there, like it exists, but it's very kind of like backseat. And there is like a twist at the end of the game that I was like, okay, I guess.
Sure.
I don't know.
Well,
it didn't do much for me from that perspective, but like I didn't really care.
Well, what happened is in the lead up to this, and not because I read anything. I just I had seen some videos about it, and I was hoping that there was more story than there was. And once I started playing, I kind of realized, I'm like, I don't think this is exactly what I was wanting it to be. And then the problem with the music is the one of the composers that was involved with the original Xenoblade is there. And it's funny that you said you really like the village music, because the composer that's there made like the Colony 6 music, and I fucking love that song. Like I listened to those songs on Spotify. Yeah. So, and then when I started and I heard the music, I was like, the problem is I just wanted it to be a different thing, like across the board. I played for like an hour, and I was like, not even saying it's bad, just not
what you're looking for.
Not what I sat down to try to play. So immediately I was just kind of like disappointed, and then I left to go play what I have been playing. Do you have anything else on this game?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think this game's good. I again, I don't think that it's excellent. It's definitely not going to make like a game of the year list, but I think that this will have its fans, and ultimately, you can kind of draw the lines. Like this is like Hi-Fi Rush-esque type of release, and we need to see more of it from across the board. And I think that it's pretty unlikely that it will happen, but it's good to see that the best company, in my opinion, Capcom, not close, is continuing to do
not close.
It's not close in my opinion. I mean, I'm biased, but Capcom is my favorite game studio.
Everyone?
Capcom's the best.
Not close?
Not close. It has my favorite series of all time. So yeah, you got Monster Hunter and you have fucking Street Fighter. That's enough said, dude.
I gotta sleep on this. We're gonna circle back around this not close argument.
That
Capcom's the best developer. It's not close.
Hey, I'm not saying that you have to agree. That's my opinion. I'm allowed to have my opinion. So yeah, no, that's the way I feel. I fucking love Capcom.
Fair, okay.
I'm a Capcom shill, Nick. But yes, go and play this game. It's you can get it on Game Pass, and it's worth checking out. I like it.
It's a good Game Pass get. That service is we just criticized it 2 weeks ago, but that's free game's a free game if you're already subscribing to the thing, right?
Call of Duty's on it now.
Yeah,
nobody wants it. Nobody likes that game, but it's there if you want to play it.
Modern Warfare 3.
Yeah,
it went. You know what? I really like the Modern Warfare games, like the previous, though.
Right.
Like I like those characters, but I was like, but I don't got terrible fucking reviews. Like I just can't.
Yeah, specifically was panned for the story. Yeah, in particular.
I was just like, you guys ruined it. So
I downloaded it, and just because they branded the homepage on PC in like Call of Duty esque aesthetics, which is kind of like. This game there's a new one that's about to come out. What are we doing here? I
think you'll see that keep happening, right? Every 3 to 6 months, they'll dump one of those.
It was like, hey, if you want to download this, you need to clear up like a lot of space. And I was like, well, how big is the game? It's like fucking 300 gigs or something like that. I'm like, yeah, cool. Got to make room for those shaders. Those shaders are important.
Crazy, dude. So I was hot off Elden Ring, and I was like, let's change of pace a little bit. I did a little research, came across this game called Bow Path of the Teal Lotus, and essentially, this game is I don't know if you've played an Ori, Hollow Knight. I don't think it's as close to Hollow Knight, but that's kind of what you're getting, right? You're going to get a bunch of different skills. It's a 2D, 2.5, I guess, and it's got quite a bit of movement in this game. I know that you've played a little bit of it because I was playing and I saw that you played a little bit of it. Did you play very far?
Yeah, I finished it.
Okay, great. Interesting. So I really like the game. I have some criticisms that we'll get to.
Yeah.
And there's some things that really hold it back, but the aesthetic in this thing is kind of pretty thick on the Japanese folklore, and the characters that you meet throughout the game, I think are, for whatever reason, they really hit for me, and I really like them. Like a lot of the characters, the fucking sumo wrestlers and all that shit. I was super into it, so I was on board there. And then the kind of the skill set, the unlockables, and some of the things you get to be able to move around, I thought was they clearly played Ori, but it was unique enough, and they've added enough to it in a way that I think it was pretty compelling. I liked that through combat, every time you engage and hit, like if you connect with your bow staff thing, your earring, it resets your dash and your jump. And what that kind of allows is just a lot of airtime, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. I thought that was a pretty neat mechanic. And they use it quite a bit as far as in boss fights, that like you actually need to use this to your advantage to stay up in the air. And then they kind of link it to these what they call the Kodamas.
Yeah.
They link it to this other ability that you can like supercharge this special ability you have, which I barely interacted with in the game.
Some of those are really strong.
But you can like supercharge that. So there's actually a reason to do this air combat even on top of it. I thought that was pretty good. My problems is what is going on with fast travel in this game? Like because there's a lot of backtracking. There's a lot of things to find, and make sure you get all the materials because you've got a little village that you can rebuild and stuff like that. So there's a reason to kind of try to 100% areas, and you have a lot of these huts that you get to save at. And it's great. They're pretty frequent. You get through a hard spot, and then you're going to reappear at these huts, and that's all fine, but you can't fast travel between them. And sometimes you'll find a town, like the mountains, and then the fast travel isn't even particularly close to the town. It's like a few screens away that involves some platforming and a puzzle, and it's a cool fast travel thing. It's like this saucer thing, and this person, like, someone designed it and they really wanted to use it, but it drove me fucking crazy once you get to the point where you're trying to like 100% and going and getting all this stuff. I'm like, these fast travel, this sucks, in my opinion. Did you care? Did it bother you?
The fast travel didn't bother me at all. There are other things that bothered me quite a bit about this game, but fast travel really wasn't that big of a nuisance for me. Yeah, the shrines that you pray at that heal you and everything like that's fine. I wish that you got some tea from doing that. You don't get tea from that. There might be a charm that you can apply that gives you tea when you pray at those, but tea, just to explain it, is essentially like your Estus flask in this game.
But it does. My problem is they're using it for two things,
right?
And that was one of my criticisms. Is yes, you use this tea kettle that you're overcharging, and every time you attack, you're increasing it, and then you can heal. It takes like 5 tea. Right.
Yeah.
But then if you use your fucking special ability, your Dodama guy, it also pulls from it. And I didn't like that because then as soon as that becomes the mechanic, I'm like, well, I like to heal. So I just don't engage with that.
Healing is very slow in this game as well. Like you sit down, you pour a cup of tea, you drink the tea, it heals you.
The aesthetics are dope. Like, I don't know. Something about the whole fucking thing that's just like, come and have tea. Like, great. Like,
yeah. So to go back to kind of the visuals of the game, I think overall it looks pretty good and is nice. I think that The character models are cool for the most part. So I'm there with you. But I do feel like across the board, this is like great value Hollow Knight, in my opinion. And some of the art kind of looks a little amateurish when you compare it to some of its contemporaries like Ori or
I think
Hollow Knight.
I don't think it's controversial to say this is a lesser than Hollow or Ori.
Yeah.
And it's not quite a perfect one of either one of those. Ori's got way better movement. Like Ori, you feel like you're really doing something beautiful as you travel through that game. And this game, while it does have good movement, never quite felt like that to me. It felt like it was very tactical and difficult. Like some of the platforming throughout the game, there are certain sections.
This game's fucking hard
that I found quite fucking hard.
Oh yeah, it's hard. It's really hard.
And there's some things that really took me a while to get through because I was like, motherfucker.
Well, I guess it didn't take me that long because I beat it in one sitting. If you go and look at Steam, it says that I'm like 20 hours in, which is not true. I didn't play for a whole day yesterday. I probably put to finish it and wrap it up at like 12 or so hours, but I just left it on while I was working and things like that. But yeah, it is very challenging. I think that towards the end, the challenge is a little too stiff, in my opinion. There are some boss fights that are really challenging. And then there is a specific sequence of platforming in the temple or the temple that is like the end point of the game.
That's a motherfucker.
Drove me fucking insane.
It's a motherfucker. There's that fight. I mean, it's a hard game and it's the final platforming challenge of a hard game.
Yeah.
But holy Lord, it really is not a joke. And it took me a long time to get through it. And my wife was just listening to me being like,
yeah, there's the most frustrating part about that sequence is it's long. So you meet an axolotl, which is the best name for an animal ever. That is a fucking like a what's the word, like old timey person that hangs out in the elevator and like takes you from floor to floor. I don't know, a bellman, I guess. I don't know.
It's a good character.
Yeah, it's a good character. But you ascend as you're like going up to the top of this temple, and the first floor you get stuck on, and the axolotl is like, the power's out, you gotta go fucking get the power back going. And there are like two nodes left and right, and you have to go and do these extremely challenging fucking platforming sections.
I mean, are we talking? I mean, it's like Celeste style. Like,
yeah, it's hard.
They are.
Yeah, it's really fucking hard. And I did not find it particularly enjoyable from that perspective, because I was just like, there are, in certain sequences, there are like secret shrines you can find that are, essentially checkpoints. But there are other ones where I either missed the shrine or it wasn't there, where it's just like, fucking grit your teeth and fucking just do this loop, perfectly. Yeah. Because this particular sequence is one shot death, and you start back from like the beginning of this area, right? Yep. So you got to do it perfectly, and that'd be fine on its own. But then it's like, you've got 3 fucking floors of this, and it just gets harder and harder and harder as you go. And so, yeah, really difficult. And then it kind of culminates with this boss fight where you're fighting this fox that has a laser gun. And that sequence in particular is infuriating.
A laser gun that shoots frequently.
Yeah. And if it hits you, you die immediately, and you got to start back. There are a couple of checkpoints in that sequence, thankfully. But that doesn't make it any less challenging. It's fucking hard, dude. So, and then it culminates with the final boss fight, which is like one too many phases long.
I have not finished the game.
Okay.
I got to the final boss. I played him 5 times. Keep in mind, I just came off Elden Ring, and I was like, I can't right now. I presumably maybe will later, but I put it down. Like, this was only like yesterday, but I was just like, he's doing too much. Like, fucking Jesus. Like, it was really, and I could probably learn I mean, I know I can learn the moveset and get through it, but I was like, kind of just like, I think I'm just done. And I had a good time playing the game, but whoa, motherfucker.
The last boss is a motherfucker. It's very challenging, and he has like 4 phases. right? And so you fight him like at the top of this temple, and then he transports you into this other area, and it reuses assets from previous boss fights in the first environment. And you're like, okay. And then you do that one and you're like, okay. And then you go back and fight him again, same move set. Then he transports you again and you're like, oh, all right, surely this is going to be it then. And then you fight him and then he takes you back to the fucking top of the temple and you got to fight him again. And he gets progressively more challenging. Like his moveset gets more aggressive. And then you're like, surely it's over. And then he transports you a fucking again, man. And then you're like, are you fucking kidding me? At that point, I just like accepted that I was just gonna not be able to beat him because one time I got to the second to the last phase and I was just like, this is like overload, dude. Like this is too much. But thankfully that last transport, you beat him there. And it's just weird that it ends that way. So yeah, not a great final boss fight in my opinion, just a little too challenging. But there are some boss fights in this game that are quite good.
I liked the fox. That
was cool.
And he was quite hard. And what really got me is that it was hard for me to get through the first phase. Mm-hmm. And then he had a second phase, and I was like, no. Yeah. But then as I played him more, I got to where like that first phase was nothing, and I got a little better, figured out what to do. And I think that was a really good one, probably one of my favorite ones.
My favorite one was the bridge. The bridge wench.
That was some difficult. That was a difficult platforming to be pretty early in the game.
Kind of reminded me of like how Cuphead mixes like platforming on top of the shooting mechanics. I kind of enjoyed that. And she's this big giant water woman that is like, you're on this bridge and she starts throwing shit at you and she's kind of in the background following you on the bridge, which I thought was really cool.
It took me a while to get that one.
Yeah, and then you gotta destroy candles on her head, which I also think is cool. So yeah, there's some highlights to this game where it's like, man, they did a good thing. But there are also things that I just think drag it down overall. One, and this is a small one, but the character is like virtually Hollow Knight. Like they did, I know it's a little fox. It's like
Tenny Hana or something they call it.
Yeah, but he looks exactly like Hollow Knight. Okay, like the pointy, ears and the big eye, everything. I'm just like, you could come up with like something a little bit more original for the character design. My biggest criticism of the game overall, I think, is there is these lanterns that you have to bounce around on, and mostly it works well. There's one lantern type that I think sucks quite a bit, and that is the red lanterns that have little tongues sticking out of them.
That you
have to like teleport through.
The where it grabs is sometimes not consistent, and then sometimes I feel like it's the arrows on the screen and I would push it and it would not engage.
Right.
And in a game like this, that's kind of a deal breaker.
Yeah.
You need to be spot on with all that. And there's definitely something that needs to be tuned with those.
For sure.
I completely agree. Because and those show up in a lot of those later platforming challenges. And when you're like nearly got it, and then one of those things feels like it fucked you.
Yeah.
It's really a bad feel.
Yeah.
And it's the type of thing that I don't know that I've ever made a criticism on Ori game about that. Like they always felt like things worked as intended.
Yeah, 100%. And to be fair, we have to highlight some of the things that these people that made this game were up against. So Humble Games is the developer, or not the developer, but the publisher. And right before the release of this game, the studio closed.
Yeah.
They closed. They shuttered. So I've seen people on Reddit complaining about certain things, and to the devs' credit, I can't remember the head developer's name, but he's in Reddit, like talking to people, and he's just like, hey man, like get it, totally good feedback, people being asshole Redditors.
I just don't work there anymore. Like,
well, no, he's like, I take all this feedback very, very as a helpful thing. Like, we definitely need to do better, but like, you have to understand that the publisher literally shuttered like right before we released the game, which caused tons of issues. And certain things that, we would typically rely on in terms of like patches and things like that were delayed because of that. So give us some time. We're going to work it out. So you got to give him credit for that. And I think it's a fair point to highlight, that this thing is just the last game from Humble Games. And that's going to cause a lot of issues. So there's that. But there are some bugs in this game. One in particular that is infuriating. I don't know if you ran into it or not, but so in a Metroidvania, it's a very vertical and horizontal experience, right? You're going to be going up, you're going to be going down, left and right, a lot, right? And typically, in games like this, the camera is going to pan with you while you move. So say you're going down, the camera is going to pan with you. Pretty basic stuff.
Sure.
Sometimes the camera doesn't pan with you.
I did not experience
So
this.
that happened to me more than once, and in those
Did you leave the
situations, I was
screen,
like,
or were you just at the wrong?
no, I was in the right spots. The first time it happened was like a tricky platforming sequence where I had to go downwards and then to the right. And the character comes down this like little entryway, and instead of the camera moving down so I can see where I need to go, it just stayed up top. And so I'm like fucking in the middle or at the bottom of the screen, like desperately hoping that the camera will pan. And obviously I died. And it corrects itself after a while, but it's like, you can't have something like that in a game like this. It just doesn't work. UI elements also like get in the way of the character in certain situations. So specifically in the last boss, I had to hug the top left corner of the screen.
Lost stuff up there.
And there's all of like your HUD elements up there, your teapot and everything like that. And it blocks the character. You cannot see the character. Like there's no, opaqueness that immediately, like you'd see in a game where it goes, oh, the character's up here. We got to like minimize this or make it opaque so they can see through it. No, it's just like, if you're in that perfect spot where the teapot is, you're fucked. Like you can't see it. So, those are things that can be fixed, and those aren't like game-breaking bugs. They can be fixed, and I'm sure they will be fixed. But playing through it very quickly, I knew that you were pretty high on it, and generally, you have pretty good opinions of video games, except for the Capcom thing. I think you're way off base there.
I'm still high on it, but I can understand that like this is not AAA, right?
No,
it's not a $60 game either.
No, it's $20.
And I can look at it and be like, I generally enjoyed my playthrough of the game, even while giving a pretty good list of criticisms. And one of the criticisms I haven't mentioned yet was that in one of the things that the good platforming games do, I understand that you have health, and the good platforming games do not take your health when you fail the platform challenge, and when they auto spawn you back, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, you hit the spike, you're back there. Mm-hmm. They don't take your health. You just get to keep trying, and you don't have to go all the way back. You lose your health to enemies, not to the environmental things in the platforming. And I'm a big fan of all of that. Mm-hmm. This game doesn't do it. And sometimes you are pretty deep. One of my good examples was when you go down, I think it's the ice little castles, and you're chasing those two little shitheads.
Yeah, the monkeys.
And some of those are pretty far between save points, and there are some hidden ones I found later.
Yeah, that's a hard sequence.
But they were hidden, right?
Yeah.
And I got pretty far through some of those and then lost health. And I was like, that sucks, because now I have to go all the way back and I have to redo a lot of pretty lengthy platforming sequences that I've already proved you that I can do. Mm-hmm. And I would prefer it, especially when this is a rinse and repeat. You've got to practice.
Yeah.
Don't take my health, put me back on the fucking ledge and let me try again.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's a big one for me.
Yeah, it's super precise platforming. I will say that they inject some really cool ideas into the platforming, and so it doesn't feel stale and it doesn't feel samey. Like most environments are going to require you to approach, whatever obstacles are in the environment in a unique way, which I think is like a good important thing for a game like this to have. But yes, it is very precise, and if you make a mistake, it feels bad because of the things that you highlighted. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, you're kind of towing a fine line there where it's like, if you make it too easy, then it dumbs down a lot of the challenge. But if you make it too hard, it's also like, I was just like gripping my controller really, really aggressively at certain points. And I was just like, you're a fucking 35-year-old man. Like, you do not break your controller. Like, you have bills to pay. Like, you should not be buying another controller because you have a childless outburst. But there is a few times where I was like, I'm getting mad.
Jared's getting pissed.
I'm getting mad.
One really good example of this is one kind of a good thing. Towards the end of the game, you can find an item that will you will recover 1 bar of health if you have taken damage.
Yeah.
Okay. And it only does 1. It will not give you all your health. It will only do 1, and then you have to take damage. You get 1 again. It takes maybe 20 seconds, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I was trying to climb the old Skeletor, whatever his name is.
Yeah, that part sucks too.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
And there's basically 3 phases. You climb up, hit his skull, and then he throws you down. You have to climb up, and it's really hard, and they start spawning a lot of enemies.
Mm-hmm.
And I was running out of health. So if I got hit, I would then sit and twiddle my thumbs and wait for that health to come back because I needed it, basically, or else I was going to fail.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a great way to play a game.
Nope.
Like sitting all right, I'll sit here for 20 seconds. Okay, the health is back. All right, let's go. Like it's not a bad design.
Yeah, I was very drunk when I did that that sequence, and I was getting heated, man. I was getting real.
This is
fucking
why you're
heated.
hungover because of Bo.
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
Because I was like, I started it, and it leaves a very good first impression. So I was like, yeah. This seems like something that I'm into. I mean, I'm a big fan of Metroidvania type style games, so I was like, yeah, this is like scratching an itch, that I need right now because there's no Silk Song and we're never getting Silk Song. So I was like, yeah, this will do. And so I was kind of like pot invested, where I was like pot committed, where I was like, yeah, man,
yeah,
like I got to do this. So I just like marathon through and drank a bunch and didn't go to sleep until like 4 a.m. last night. So
holy shit, you were drunk trying to finish this game. I can't even like.
I said I played it in one sitting. That's not accurate. I did finish it up today. So, but I played the vast majority of it. I got to the final area last night. So pretty much the entire game in one sitting.
I don't think I'll finish. I don't think it's worth it to me to go and fuck with the boss.
You shouldn't.
I'm gonna waste my time on it.
It's the weakest boss in the game,
which is a bummer. I'd still recommend this game to plenty of people to be like, there's stuff here. Just don't think it's perfect.
No, definitely. And this is my thing. And again, like going back to what we were just saying about, kind of how it compares to some of the heavy hitters in this genre, and I'm struggling to find anything that this game does better than Ori, with its masterclass of presentation, its music, and just pitch perfect platforming and movement mechanics. And then Hollow Knight's combat, and it's like world and kind of the secrets and the discoverability of that game, and just how massive Hollow Knight is. Like when you compare those two games to Bo, it just is not there in my opinion. And it's a smaller thing, but like,
and it might be because it takes a decade to make a Hollow Knight.
Ori,
because
Ori's on like, it's not quite AAA, I would say, but Ori is like got a step above as far as production goes. Sure. But like Hollow Knight, before it became this wildly successful thing, is absolutely exactly like this game, like an indie studio, small studio that made it. So like you can't really, it's a good comparison to make just because Hollow Knight nails what it's doing better than Bo does. Like I think that's the best comparison that you can make between the two. Ori is just a little bit, I think it's a step above, I would say.
You got a little more money over there.
Sure.
Maybe not anymore. But
I don't know. No rest for the wicked seems like people do not like that game very much. I will wait until it comes to 1.0.
Absolutely. Sure.
But I played the beta a little bit, and all I can say is the character models are some of the worst that I've ever seen in my life. Like their fucking proportions and the way that they look is like nightmare fuel to me, man. They look so bad.
I'll have to take a look. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We've got a Irish whiskey to try, and we're going to talk about college football.
The up and coming sport, college football.
Okay, we are back. Here's the thing. When we were recently hanging out drinking whiskey, I think we were talking about Irish whiskey and how we hadn't had. I don't believe that this conversation happened on the podcast. I think it
was at my house
where we were just kind of saying we haven't talked enough about Irish whiskey, and all the Irish whiskey I've really had, I've liked quite a bit.
Yeah,
and you mentioned this Tyrconnell.
I don't know.
But you mentioned it, and then while I was in Idaho, I saw it, and I was like, absolutely, let's give this a shot. And the thing about this is low proof. I think you could say that this isn't doing anything bold, and I will say that this is absolutely delightful. I think it's just a fantastic whiskey. We talked about how Booker's is not for the faint of heart. It's not the thing you bring out. One, it's a bourbon. This is an Irish whiskey, but it's not the type of thing you bring out if someone's going to dip their toe in it.
Yep.
And I think this absolutely is.
Yeah.
This is just one of the cleanest products that you can have, and it's just extraordinarily enjoyable. This is the second one I've had. I had one when I brought the bottle home, and immediately was like, oh, this is the type of thing. In my head, occasionally I get a bottle where I'm like, that just belongs on the shelf. The Caribbean Cask from the Balvenie kind of been one of those.
Mm-hmm.
And this is probably one of those where it's like, if I see it and I'm low, it's the type of thing that should probably just be there, because I think it's a really good showcase to be like, hey, you want some great Irish whiskey? Here you go. And it's not called Redbreast because everyone's seen Redbreast. Nothing against it, but
Redbreast can be good.
For sure.
Especially some of the higher age stated stuff's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Like Irish whiskey is often maligned, I feel like, and I don't think for good reasons, right? It's just not as prolific or ever present, unless you live in Ireland, the way that like Scotch is or bourbon is, right? So, they're obviously producing it in different ways. It's typically a single pot stilled distillation, which is not everybody's cup of tea. It definitely instills a very specific flavor to the product. So, it's got its own thing and it's got its own niche in the whiskey world. But I think there's some great Irish whiskeys out there. My personal favorite is the green spots, the yellow spots, red spots, blue spots.
Okay, great.
It sounds like I'm like narrating a children's book over here. But that's a great product. Big fan of that. And then I do like Redbreast quite a bit. But yeah, I had this in Ireland when I was there, and it left a mark on me. And I don't even think that I could remember the name of this. I just said, yeah, man, there's this Irish whiskey I had in Ireland that's got this guy on a fucking horse. And then we were randomly talking, and you were going to Idaho. You sent me a picture, and it immediately I was like, that's the shit that I had in Ireland. Like, and here it fucking is. So
and now we have it. So I think it's I don't know if you can answer this. Is it fair to say they don't have as broad of a range like within the Irish whiskey? Like, are you gonna find higher proof Irish whiskey? I certainly haven't had any, but I haven't had a ton of Irish whiskey.
Yeah, definitely there's gonna be higher proof stuff for sure. That without a doubt.
Sure.
I don't know if like it's in the main staple, but they're gonna do one-off releases and things like this. A lot of these distilleries are owned by the major corporations that own a lot of the Scottish distilleries as well, right? And some American companies own some of the distilleries as well. So yeah, you're gonna get some of that, but as far as like flavor profiles, I mean, it's not as broad as Scotch, but I mean, certainly not. At least in my experience, like I don't think that you're going to get that wide of a range of flavor profiles from one product to the next. But yeah, I'm sure that there's some. I don't know. I think we've got somebody from Ireland in our Discord, so let us fucking know.
That's true. I totally fucking forgot. We'll have to hit him up and be like, hey, tell us.
He's got sweet poodles as well.
I think I'm gonna keep my keep my eye out for Irish whiskey just to see and try to get a few other bottles so that we could maybe compare and contrast a little bit, because I really don't have anything in my collection. And Utah's tough. Like, we talk about how Utah's tough for bourbon and for Scotch. It's even harder for tequila or Irish whiskey. Like, you just don't get fucking.
Yeah.
I hope you want Jameson or Redbreast, because that's.
You can get Writer's Tears here. You can get Teeling here.
I've had Writer's Tears. I've had a fantastic Teeling, but that was brought to me from Ireland. You've had that too, but it was in a fancy bottle a long time ago.
Yeah, so there are some products you can get here, but yeah, like there is like very little shelf space for Irish in comparison to the other products that are existing. So which is a shame because like, I think it's good. It's just not as glamorous as say like Japanese is a good example, right? Where a lot of, especially you get a lot of copycats and a lot of shit that people are like, this is Japanese, but we bought it and then moved it to Chicago and it's Japanese. It's like, no, but like the core range of Japanese products are fantastic.
I didn't realize that was happening.
Oh, that's happening. Yeah, because Japanese is like so fucking popular that
the prices went up. Like,
yeah.
That stuff got inflated.
Yeah. So a lot of, entrepreneurs were like, we see an opportunity here. Let's buy some pretty poor quality Japanese whiskey that's like sitting in the fucking back lot somewhere and ship it over to the United States and then bottle it and sell it as a Japanese whiskey when it's like, it is technically, but also it's a little shady and suspect. I'm looking at you, Kaio, you fucks. Shit sucks. But yeah,
I figured something you used to talk about a lot, and I've had some good stuff that you've.
I've got all the good stuff.
Let me try, but I figured that it at least fallen. I don't know if it's fallen out of favor, but like you don't talk about it nearly what you did.
There's just not like I've completed it. Like
there's just nothing.
The only bottles that I don't have in my collection is Yamazaki 18, the Hakushu 18, and I don't have $3,500 to drop on a single bottle of whiskey. So
start saving up.
Yeah, I'll just get my piggy bank and wait. But like I've got all of the like quintessential good Japanese products that exist. Right, I got them all the Nikkas, all the Suntories. I've got them all.
I always wonder because at our wine store, they have stuff behind the glass. There's always at least one or two. And I'm always like, I wonder if Jared does that one. And I never send it to you because I'm just like, probably.
I mean, it depends. Like again, like there are some like littler distilleries in Japan that are actually importing their products to the United States market, but you really have to do your homework. You can't just see some fucking kanji on the bottle and be like, oh, yeah, that's going to be great because it's going to be shit most likely. Yeah. That's my experience. So like I generally shy away from it unless I hear somebody that I respect talk about it and be like, no, this is the real deal. You go and seek this bottle out.
What is the name of that bottle I had? You're going to remember. I got a duty free. I think it's
Chiba. Or Cheetah. Sorry, Cheetah.
I mean, I got that and I drank half of that. The last half of that bottle, I drank making a highball. So that felt like the proper use for it.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a Japanese product. That's Suntory, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. It might be Nika, but I'm pretty sure it's Suntory. And that's like their bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, it just isn't doing anything. It's the
the
type of thing that at duty free, it's like buy two, get one free. And you're,
really, the things that you need to keep an eye out if you're interested in Japanese whiskey are these. You need to find the Yamazaki. That's like the number one bottle that you want to find. That stuff's delicious. And, if you search around and don't immediately pay secondary prices, you can find bottles of that for a decent price, like around $100, which is still probably a little inflated, but, that's better than $2 to $3 to $4, which I've seen it in certain places. And then...
That was $200 in the Utah lottery.
Yeah.
Which we don't mark it up a lot, so that
is
kind of like because you brought it over specifically, and I was like, it's not worth $200 because I didn't buy it.
Yeah, for sure. And then the Nika products that I would recommend is Hibiki, the Harmony. That's really good. Very, very nice. You can get that for $70 to $80.
So it's like short stout bottles.
And it comes in a beautiful bottle. One of my favorite bottles. Very classy, nice. It's my infinity bottle, in fact. I have 2 bottles of it, and one of them is just full of a bunch of bourbon, which is weird, but I just can't get rid of the bottle. So that, and then like if you really are wanting to dive deeper into Nika, the coffee still products are really, really good. It's not made with coffee. It's a still. It's called the coffee still. So a lot of people look at it and they're like, it's got coffee in it. This is not some fireball shit over here. Yeah. It's just whiskey. And those would probably be the ones that I would seek out and look for. Anything else, like, again, do your homework, pay attention, and make sure you're getting a product that's actually Japanese and worth drinking.
Yeah, it's a good time. This is a fun hobby we have because it's never ending.
My liver hurts.
Well, there's risks involved. Yeah, but college football is.
You ever heard of it?
Yes, I have. I've watched a lot of college football games. Usually intoxicated. I do not care a whole lot about the sport, but I do enjoy those very exciting games and things like that. I've had plenty of fun at going to see the Utes play and stuff like that. But there used to always be an NCAA football, and I would play those. I played some in the dorms, and I literally have a memory because this was before they'd fixed a lot of shit, and you could pause it. And I remember I was winning, and the fucker just kept pausing the game because he didn't want to lose.
Yeah.
And I was like, motherfucker, I am 19. It's Friday. I have time. You will not defeat me in this endeavor.
I'll wait here all day, motherfucker.
And there is no scenario where you win. And he did not win because I was just like, you don't understand who you're up against.
Yeah.
I have no plans.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
But anyway, so essentially there was some pretty serious legal problems with athletes of being paid, and like they just straight up pulled the product real quickly when this stuff started coming about. And I forget if this was 6 years ago, 5.
The last one that came out was 2014, I believe.
Damn, 10 years. So essentially, they worked that out. Some people now get paid some amount of money and are able to market themselves in different ways, or at least more than they could before. And now we have college football again. It's back. There's reasons to be excited. I find college football far more exciting than the NFL, just as a product. So you're playing it. So did they do it? They haven't made it for a while. Is it a good football game? But
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, so I definitely have a lot of nostalgia for NCAA college football.
Mm-hmm.
The NCAA has been removed. It's just college football 25. Or 24, sorry, not 25. Is it 25? It might be 25. I don't know.
It should be 25.
Yeah, it's 25.
Usually they release it for the next year.
It's 25. So I used to play those games a lot. I have never been a huge fan of Madden. I have played a lot of Madden, but there's something about Madden that has never really like clicked with me in the same way that the college football series did back in the day. So the prospect of a new title coming out after 10 years was somewhat exciting to me. I used to play a lot of that shit in very similar situations. You know what I mean? Like sitting with a bunch of friends, playing it couch co-op, and having a great time.
Which is always a bad time if you're playing with like 4 people and the one person's just like, well, I'm a wide receiver. And it's like, well, I wonder if he's going to throw it to the unnamed wide receiver, or I wonder if he's going to throw it to Dave, who's trolling Jerry Rice.
Yeah. So there's some things to talk about, like the NIL thing with college football, and you're absolutely right. Athletes are able to, make money off their likeness and other ways that they can produce income, which is weird. It's a weird thing. But also I think that the previous system was broken and gross in a lot of ways, where, the argument was like, you're getting a college education, you get free food sometimes. And it's like, that doesn't seem like enough.
Well, the dollars, right? The dollars that were coming in on some of these, clear that it's just like, USC brought in this many millions.
Oh yeah.
And and we gave these kids free college, and we $1,000 meal plan.
Right.
And you were like, oh, well, I don't know.
It's also, Alabama is a perfect example. Like, Alabama is not, widely known for its great law school or whatever. Maybe they are, but the point is that Alabama largely is as big as they are from the revenue that they generate from the football team, the football program.
Also, like, I think that an important distinction to make is these are not college students. This is not a college football team formed out of college students. This is a college football team formed and then they became college students.
Right.
Like they were just like, hey, he's already here. Like
Right.
they're only there to play football.
This ain't Rudy, motherfucker. Like the guy coming on, walk on. That's just like, here I am. I'm just here to get an education. No, like
I gotta get to math.
Yeah, the modern sport is like. It is absolutely, cutthroat recruiting. You're finding these kids that coming out of high school, and you are bringing them to your school to do well at football and make you more money in the process. So it's a lot weird. So the way that it was previously was gross, and I think the way that it is now is not like completely doesn't make sense to me either, to be honest with you, because it's just like. You get a kid that's like, depending on who they are, like they don't even necessarily have to be that great at football. They can just have like a brand and like be, recognizable. And it's like, here's millions of dollars, 18, 19-year-old kid. Like, and that always works out well. Recently, there was a controversy about the University of Georgia football players getting expensive sports cars and then speeding at like ridiculously high rates of speed through Athens, I believe is where the University of Georgia is.
Are you aware of what sports cars are supposed to do?
They're supposed to go fast. But are you aware of the way a 19-year-old is? I think you are, because you were one at one point in time, a long, long time ago for both of us. But I
raced through a canyon pulling a boat, Jared.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've done stupid shit.
Yep. And so there was Kirby Smart, who's the head football coach for the University of Georgia, had to come and do damage control because like a number of wasn't just one incident, but it was like a lot of incidents of these. And Georgia is like a top tier athletic program, football specifically. I mean, they're one of the best that exists. So like these kids are getting lots of fucking money and they're spending it in ways that kids spend money. So it's like, there's gotta be a in between the rich fortunes that you will receive if you make it to the NFL and eating top ramen in your fucking dorm room.
Sure.
But anyways, the way that it works now, and one of the main reasons why this game series was able to return, is EA essentially was able to actually put in real world players and their likenesses into the game. And as far as I understand, the way that it had to shake out was every single player that was on a roster for a team that's in the game had to be approached and asked if they could use their likeness. And if they agreed, they would get like a couple $100 and a copy of the game. And like overwhelmingly, most of the kids that were involved said, yeah, fuck yeah. So here we are.
It's on the money. It's the likeness, right? Like, because if you get popular, you just need your face out there.
Right. I will say that, I've been playing as the Utes because fuck everyone else. Sure. And you all suck. I hate you, all of you. But Cam Rising looks like Brad Rising, I would say. It doesn't quite like when you go to like NFL, like Madden, it's like, yeah, that looks like Aaron Rodgers. Pretty good. We're still not to that point. And like on a standing.
And the scale's bigger.
It's much bigger.
There's an enormous amount of teams that they had to presumably. I can't imagine it gets better.
No.
Because you just named like a very front forward player. What about the fucking kicker for Idaho? It's just like, it's got to be far worse.
Yeah. There's also like some weird bugs that have been like addressed. They've already addressed it, but it was like pretty hilarious, like capitalism bugs, I would say, where like in college football, you're allowed to kind of negotiate your own like uniform deals. So there's tons of different companies, all of the major players you could think of are, got their hands in the pot, essentially.
Like Nike? Is that what you're talking about?
Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, like all of these different manufacturers will sign deals with individual schools. And so the game has to replicate that in the game, but there's been like some serious gaffes where like we'll just use, I don't know, Utah I don't think is affected, but Utah's Under Armour, but like they'll show up with like Nike logos on them, and then it's like, oh no,
it's a huge capitalism problem.
Yeah. So that I think was quickly addressed, but that was like a big thing where people were like, hey, I'm playing as fucking Akron, and they're not Nike, man.
I mean, to your point, it's the thing that doesn't matter unless your name is Under Armour,
right?
And then you suddenly get real mad real quick,
right? Yeah. So it's a serious undertaking because there are a lot of fucking schools in this game. It's not a handful. All of the major conferences and even the not major conferences, I think all Division I college football teams are available in the game. So it's a lot. It's a lot of schools, right? So from that perspective, you have a lot of work to do, and that's not an easy thing to do. So. I guess we should talk about the fucking game. But
we're experts here.
Yeah, the game's good. Like it's good. Like, but I can't make significant. I can't draw through lines between the experience in college football and the Madden product, right?
Where Madden is today,
right? I haven't played Madden in like a decade, probably.
Yeah.
And so, like for me, I just don't have any point of reference. But what I will say is this game feels good. It feels really good. Like everything about it works. I think the animation's great. It looks great. The animations in particular, there are some very, very dynamic animations for whatever is going on the field. So very, very effective from that perspective. I think one of the bigger things is the college game day atmosphere, which, exists in the NFL to a certain extent, but in college, it's a fucking thing. I mean, when you get 100,000+ kids in a fucking stadium, shit gets fucking wild. When we're talking about like Michigan or Penn State's Beaver Stadium, like these massive stadiums, the way that they've emulated those hostile environments for like a team to come in to play against that is really cool. And so like if you pull the left trigger when you're at the line of scrimmage before a play goes off,
you defense or
both. But specifically, I'm talking about offense here.
Right.
You can hit the left trigger. It will kind of raise the camera up above so you can see like kind of a bird's eye view of the play. And also, and this is nothing new. This has been done forever and ever in football games, but you'll be able to see the routes that your receivers are going to be running, right? So you can kind of have an idea of like what's going on. When you're in a hostile environment, those lines shake and move all over the place because of the noise, which is really cool. Like, there's like a noise meter in the top right corner that will pop up every so often to like kind of show you how loud and raucous everything is. The screen rocks in a really effective way. So like, from a gameplay perspective, like that kind of actually affects, what's going on.
It sounds like a pretty good idea because I think one of the things that Madden runs into is just like the game's not changing, right? So what are they adding each year and how are they changing it? So like anything like that, kind of compelling.
Yeah.
It's just like, all right, you try a thing. Maybe some work, maybe some don't stick. And then next year, presumably this will be an annual release going forward. And some of that will stick around and then they'll come up with some new ideas, hopefully.
Yeah. So yeah, you've got all of the things that you would kind of look for like a modern sports game. You've got pretty robust online features. There's Ultimate Team here, which is gross, and I never get involved in it. And so you got everything that you would expect from an EA game in the way that they're going to monetize a game. The single player experience has been pretty good so far. I'm a coach. Coach J-Rod over here. And it's like, pretty intense.
You sent me a screenshot of, I think it was the first game you played against BYU and you beat them by like 80 points or something.
It was 108-14.
That seems like a good time. That maybe the difficulty needed to be turned up a bit.
Yeah. I threw like a lot of passes to Brad Kuthi, who is our standout tight end, and based on the results, he's going to go as the first number 1 draft pick in next year's draft, and he's going to get the biggest contract ever. He's like Rob Gronkowski, fucking 2.0. But yeah, like it feels good to play the game. For me, I've always had this disconnect with football games. I really do like football. I mean, it's my second favorite sport, easily, I watch the NFL pretty religiously, and I watch the Utes, and Penn State sometimes, but we won't talk about that. Mostly the Utes. I do love college football a lot, and probably more than the NFL. But when it comes to the games, it's just always like the way you're going to have a good experience and get really good at a Madden or a game like this is just like understand football, right?
Sure.
And it's not just like baseline understanding of like how the game is played. It's like understanding schemes and what you're seeing.
How are
what
they lining up?
How's
How
the
should I
defense lining up? What should I, do? Should I audible here? And I don't really have that level of understanding of football where it's like, if you explained it to me, I'd be like, yeah, because I get the concepts and understand it. But also I'm not like immediately looking at a bunch of dudes lined up and being like, yep, I need to switch this here. So like
they're rushing. It's obvious. You're just like, I'm good. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it's kind of tough. It's kind of tough for me to like find like significant enjoyment. There are a lot of people that are that way. And like, that's cool. Like there's this dude I can't remember his name, but he played in the NFL, like didn't have like an illustrious career, but he has parlayed that into like a pretty successful streaming and like YouTube career. And all he does is play Madden, but he's been in training camps and been on NFL rosters as a quarterback. He was like a backup quarterback. So he understands what he's looking at and he plays Madden all the time. And now probably NCAA as well. And it's incredible to watch him. And he's really good at the game because he knows like, okay, like this is the formation they're in. Like I got to do this here. And like, and he explains it really effectively. Like this is how you're going to get better at the game. Like understanding these schemes and seeing what the defense is giving you and not forcing anything. And he's fucking good at the game because of that. So that's my point. It's like, well, and I won't make the argument that like you have to have like a quarterback level knowledge to enjoy these games. You don't. You can get in there and just be a dipshit and still dump 108 points on BYU. But like to really, really master the game, you kind of have to have some of that understanding.
I would play Madden with one of my friends a long time ago, and he was far more into sports than me. And the problem and what was infuriating is that he would just rush when he was on offense because he would just be able to call the plays and just fuck you because every play was like they were out of time, and it worked fine for him because he knew exactly all of his hotkeys and everything, and it literally ruined the game for me because you're just like, oh, this is a bad time over here.
So when you compare it to like FIFA, right? Like there are rules that you have to understand with soccer, but you can get in FIFA and it's fairly intuitive. And I am definitely not making the argument that there is not a skill ceiling in Madden or in this game. There definitely is, but it's different where, largely your success is based around your understanding of what works and what doesn't and, performing effectively from that perspective. Where FIFA is more mechanically skill driven, where it's like, if you've got the mechanical skills to, work the controller the right way, you can have a lot of success without understanding like all of the little nuances of soccer.
Sure.
And I think that's where FIFA is a better sports title, in my opinion. And I think you could make that argument for the 2K series as well, right?
For sure.
But yeah, so that's that when it comes to football for me. The biggest thing to talk about, and the reason to talk about this, is the level of success that this game has had is overwhelming and insane. I don't know if you read anything, but 2.2 million people paid $100 for the early access version of this game. 2.2 million people at $100 a pop, right? So that's just to play a couple of days early. And you get like a bunch of stupid shit that doesn't matter. But that puts in perspective, like, we're talking about a lot of weird shit on this. We're not weird, but just like, not necessarily as mainstream as some of these sports titles or Call of Duty. But when a game comes out like this that appeals to the masses and broadly is important, this is one of those games that we talk about where there might be a person out there that buys 2 games a year, buys this and buys Madden and buys Call of Duty, and that's it. And so from that perspective, it's like insane when you think about the money that EA is raking in over this, the weight and just like how much people love that those previous games. It just has translated into a fucking massive success for them.
And as long as people, it only probably has to partially land to then be like, they've just created a yearly easy.
I think they're probably already there, right? Like 2.2 million paying $100. That's a lot of money.
It didn't flop. Like the headlines aren't that this game sucks, and that's probably all they needed.
Right.
It didn't even need to be like it's incredible. It just needed to be like, actually, no, it's pretty good, and that's enough that next year they're just printing money.
Yeah. And so, I think it's very interesting. You got to look at it from that perspective, just like broadly looking at the gaming industry. These types of games are the money makers, man. Like, I mean, it's just the way it is.
It's just good. Yeah. And like you say, it's the stuff we don't really talk about on this. Like, we rarely talk about sports games, and there's a fuckload of people out there wanting to play them and buy them.
Oh yeah. Yep. It's pretty fucking wild. So, I mean, I'm happy to have this all, if I have like my nephew over or something like that, I'm sure we'll play, but like, am I going to fucking, play this regularly and be hardcore in it? No,
probably not.
Definitely not. But it's nice to have, and it's cool to see that this is, back finally. And we'll just have to see what they do in the future. The problem is that you are going to run into the same issues that you do with any of these yearly releases, that ultimately is going to stagnate. Football is football. Like it's not changing. They're not adding, well, I guess technically they are adding new rules this upcoming NFL season, but
stagnate for who though? Like, cause what are the Madden sales every year? Like, is it a problem? Because I don't know that it's a problem.
I don't think that it's a problem from a sales perspective. It's just like general sentiment, which I guess doesn't really matter because they're still selling the games.
Sure.
But people are pretty upset with Madden. This is a hilarious thing, and I've seen some incredible memes, tied to it, which has been great to see. But EA has bundled Madden, the most recent Madden, with this game in certain tiers, right? Mm-hmm. So there are like, you pay like a lot of, I think it's like $150, something like that. You get the ultimate version of NCAA, and they give you Madden for free. In air quotes. And people are like, I don't want this shit. Like fucking nobody wants this shit. Like it's absolutely hilarious. There's a pretty funny Family Guy meme where Peter walks up at like a video store and he's like, I want to buy this movie. And the guy's like, you can get this extra movie for free. And he's like, I don't want that. Like, and it's like, so, I can't remember the two movies, but one of them's good. And one of them is like generally regarded as a horrible movie. And the guy's like, no, I'll give it to you for free. And he's like, I still don't fucking want it. So very interesting from that perspective, but like, I don't know. It's hard for me to really talk about this and be like, oh yeah, EA's doing good things, because EA is not doing good things, and rarely have they done good things. Sure. So it's kind of a tough one to talk about.
For sure, because like I say, how's it different next year? Is this the same thing and then they're just back to the same old shit? But
well, yeah, like that's the thing, is you just can't iterate that much on this experience. Like it is what it is. It's like there's not a new college that's going to show up. I mean, maybe.
I mean, do you play FIFA every year?
No, not every year.
You see, I mean, and you are a pretty big fan of that shit.
I love that
it's
shit.
Just like, it's not grabbing you. So
yeah.
Okay. I forgot to mention it just real quick before we finish it up. I've played a little more Apex since my bad experience of just getting my ass kicked. Gotten slightly better. I just had to kind of get back into it. What I wanted to talk about real quick was they are not afraid to change shit in that game, and it's kind of interesting if you played it when that game first came out. Because I don't follow the day to day, but I've played, I don't know, 5 hours, 7 hours or something recently, and armor's gone. Like, you do not pick up armor anymore. A few years back when I played, you could get this armor that as you did damage, it would upgrade itself through thresholds.
Okay.
They essentially applied that across the board. So, which essentially rewards you for engaging. Because if you turtle, you will not have the higher level armor, which is an interesting thing to add to the game.
Yeah.
Go out, you got to fucking shoot your gun. If you want the red armor, it means you've done a ton of damage, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a few other ways to upgrade it, but either way, that is pretty interesting. Second thing that is interesting is if you die and you get revived, the guns you had, you revive with. Not all the gear, but the guns. So if you were really stoked about that sniper rifle, you will still have it. And then the last thing they've done is just straight up changed the ammo types for like guns that used to be sniper are now energy. And it's just like they clearly do not give any fucks about like changing things up to try to balance this thing. And it's pretty interesting. And that game it's still a game that I like quite a bit. I got flamed by in an extraordinary way, because it was still quite bad. I had some good games today, but I died. Like my teammates died, and then I died, and this person was screaming at me because he was following my cam, telling me that I sucked. And he said, because he could see he was playing on console, he could see I was PC. And he's like, "You motherfucking PC player sitting there getting your government checks buying PCs. Fuck you." And I was just like, I don't know that anyone's ever accused me of leeching off the government while playing a video game. Like, what the fuck is this? But he was, and like over and over, he was just like, "I know you're on government assistance." And I was like, "What the fuck is going on here?" And I'm like, "I'm just trying to like revive you. Why are you so mad?" And it was very funny.
What the fuck is that?
I have no idea. He was clearly... He's got some political opinions.
I know you're on government. Sir, I own my own business. What are you talking about? Get the fuck out of here.
So, yeah, I muted him and reported him for being mean. And
yeah. As you should. Fuck that guy.
But anyway.
He's probably on government assistance. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. But
no, absolutely not. Anyway, but that was it. The only thing I've just been kind of blown away by how much they've changed the game if you just compare launch to now. So I'm like, all right, that's probably what you need to do to keep all of these things fresh and keep it going if you can do it in the right way, I guess.
Do you have an opinion on this Battle Pass controversy? I don't even know what they did, but people were very, very mad about something they did with the Battle Pass, and then they have backtracked and reverted it. But
on Apex?
Yeah.
I don't even know what it is.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, that was like, it made headlines the last week or so. There were a lot of the player base was very unhappy with something that they did with the Battle Pass, and like up in arms about it. And
I'll have to
Respawn recently was like, yeah, we're not going to do that anymore.
I'll have to look into it because everything I had enough credits already to randomly get the Battle Pass, and it has all felt the same. The reason I've always liked their Battle Pass is they have weekly challenges, and if you don't get them done in week 1, you can finish them in week 9. So you can essentially show up to the game in the middle of the season, and you can really just level up really quickly. And it still does that, and so I enjoy that because I'm like halfway through a season, and I'm just like leveling the fuck up because tons of shit is popping after every match.
Speaking of battle passes, I'm already to the cap again in Destiny 2. It needs to be 300 levels because
they should open it up.
It's 200 levels, and the first episode, there's 3 episodes in a season. The first episode was 1 through 100. The second episode just came out last week or this week, or no, last week. It was last week. And it's 100 to 150.
Yeah.
So you get 50 levels this one, and then 50 for the next one, but you get 100 the first one. So it's like, I blew through that shit, and I'm getting fucking engrams again, and nobody likes that shit.
They need to have like maybe the base, right? And then once you've kind of done that, to have these like far out ones you're working towards. So even if it slows down or something, in my mind, if there was still like, the first 50 you get this and then every 20 you start to kind of get some other fancy things or something, some sort of carrot out there, right?
Dude, I have played so much Destiny and I still have so much to do. It's overwhelming, but also like I have just been digging into like the previous DLCs. I'm doing like all the shit now, and I've had a great time, dude. It's so good. And also I've been playing. I got to do some raids here soon because I'm leveling up my number, the 1 through 11 number. I'm on 8 now. To get to 9, I got to do 2 raids. So I'm gonna slowly, but I'm getting certain gear and getting my build up to snuff, so making it as meta as fuck.
You'll be ready, and then you gotta go and
then I gotta go
jump into the mess.
But I've been working with some people because I've had to play some cooperative stuff that's like more challenging to get to where I'm at now, and I've had a pretty good experience.
Whole new group of friends.
No, I haven't made any friends, but also I haven't had any like terrible experiences outside of the PvP that we talked about the last show. Most of the PvE guys and girls seem pretty friendly for the most part.
Nice.
I struggled pretty mightily in one sequence in one of the missions I did and couldn't quite figure out what I needed to do. And there was a little frustration from these people that knew exactly what to do, but also it was more like, we're going to help you.
Right.
And like they were pretty cool about it. So
I've been there. Back in the Taken King stuff when I was doing it, and then I was like being quiet and I was like ruining the raid, and then they were like, I don't think he knows what he's doing. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I need help. But generally, within Destiny, I never had people screaming at me in the raid situations. Whenever I had like LFGs for raid people, they were always nice or ineffective. Either way,
right. So anyways, keep on playing along. I am still completely absorbed and will not stop.
It hit at a good time. There's just not like, we have a nice time where we just get to pick and choose like what random game can we find. We don't have anything. I was all looking forward to Frostpunk 2, and that thing got delayed to like October, which is to me a terrible release date for that game. I think July was a great release date for that game. Mm-hmm. I'll play it, but that's not when you release Frostpunk 2, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a lot coming out in the next little bit that I can think of.
Black
Myth
Wukong. That thing comes out. I randomly got a free copy of that from a graphics card thing. So.
Thing looks real pretty.
Yeah,
I'm excited to play that on a beefy PC.
And that's on Game Pass as well. So
cool.
All right, that is going to do it. Thanks for tuning in. Go and you can follow our YouTube channel, or you can just do the normal way, and whatever podcast app you want to listen to us on. We have Discord. You should probably join that. Come in and talk to us. There'll be a handy link in the our bio on YouTube or in the show notes. Additionally, I'll maybe list some of these in there, and you can drink along with us. Take it easy, guys. Thanks.